Managing conflict, this is the third section. So couples that are able to understand and manage their emotions and behaviors, as well as understand how their partners respond to conflict, are significantly better equipped to have functional relationships. Now, this is related to what is often known or called emotional intelligence. The Gottmans have found that couples that are able to manage conflict do very well together, whereas those that don't manage conflict well often divorce. I mean, managing conflict is often key whether a relationship is successful or not. So the Gottmans have uncovered 4 different behaviors that are exhibited during conflict that either sustains conflict or leads to even greater conflict. And I'm going to discuss each of these behaviors with you, and we label them the Four Horsemen, and I'm going to provide antidotes for each as well. So the first one is criticism. This is the first of the Four Horsemen. So according to the Gottmans, most relationships have an element of criticism, right? We all can be critical at times, but it's imperative that couples work on reducing the level of criticism that they give to their partner. So further, when a relationship becomes negative or highly conflicted, most feedback is perceived as negative. So in fact, even constructive criticism is considered negative when things are not going well in a relationship. Research shows that for every 1 criticism, it takes 5 positive statements to counteract that 1 negative, okay, from that 1 negative statement. So this makes it difficult when a relationship is already negative, as it becomes extremely difficult to have positive interactions. So the goal is not to be critical. So the antidote is really trying to prevent a downward spiral and framing things in a positive, always praise about what you like. So defensiveness is number 2, the second of the Four Horsemen, and is a major offender in relationships. It's one of my favorites to watch when I work with couples. It's one of the most frequent behaviors that I observe in couples therapy when there is conflict. And defensiveness is often a reflexive action to criticism or perceived criticism. So sometimes there's in fact no criticism, but there's just some feedback that's been stated. However, the individual on the receiving end responds by blaming the other person for doing the same thing, right? Or they deny their responsibilities in the matter, and they whine or make an excuse for the reason that they have that behavior. When the original speaker experiences the defensiveness of the receiver, they often feel invalidated and alone, and the couple becomes even more distant. So the antidotes to defensiveness are the following. So number 1, you remind yourself that a relationship is about being part of a team, right? It's not 2 individuals working against each other. The second thing is, rather than seeing your partner's words as an attack, see them as their strong expression of their feelings about the topic being discussed. And then take some responsibility if you're on the receiving end. Say, all right, I do that 5% of the time. Acknowledge that you're not perfect. Number 4, remind yourself about the positive qualities of your partner. And most importantly, take some responsibility again for your feedback that your partner is expressing. So I gave you 5 things. Don't apologize for something that you have not done. Accepting even 10% of responsibility, if it's due, will de-escalate tension and improve communication and build trust. So I gave you a bunch of things. So, all right, bunch of antidotes. Now, the third one is stonewalling, the third of the Four Horsemen. So stonewalling is just as it sounds. It is an avoidance or refusal to address or communicate about an issue of conflict. So to the other partner, stonewalling often feels as though they are talking to a brick wall. In his research, Dr. John Gottman found that 85% of men use stonewalling as a way of dealing with conflict. Yet they did not realize this was very destructive. It's a very destructive strategy. So men often use a distancing technique to cope with high levels of emotion. And here it is, it's stonewalling. Remember that withdrawing from an argument does not solve it. And parallel living has been found to be a consequence of this behavior over the longer term. So parallel living leads to a pulling away from a relationship, leaving it vulnerable to outside forces. So also stonewalling, it does lead to increased conflict and major meltdowns when the non-stonewaller begins to chase the stonewaller about an issue, and then at some point, the stonewaller then reacts with rage, often leading the couple to a regrettable incident. So antidotes to stonewalling are as follows. So resist the temptation to withdraw. You want to stay with your partner emotionally. You want to look for the good in each other. You make time for positive experiences. You don't ignore your partner, and you give some sort of response, not a grunt, but an actual verbal response. Sometimes it can just be a nod. So further, it's important to practice good self-care to avoid the desire to stonewall. We often stonewall because we are anxious about conflict. Conflict causes many of us anxiety. And again, in order to better manage the anxiety of dealing with difficult issues, it is important to practice good self-care, like getting a good night's sleep, exercising frequently, and then maintaining a healthy diet. Avoidance is okay in a relationship as long as you are avoiding stonewalling. And stonewalling, it will make people crazy. Do not stonewall. The fourth item, contempt, fourth horseman. So it describes a stronger form of criticism, okay? So contempt is really about judgment. It's the most dangerous of the four horsemen. And the Gottmans found that contempt in a relationship was predictive of divorce in 86% of cases. So contempt can be described as any behavior which causes your partner to feel put down. Examples include belittling your partner, treating them with disdain, eye-rolling, sneering, insults, name-calling, mocking, and even cynicism. So contempt can be as simple as having disdain or disgust with your partner and how they chew gum, eat, drive, or snore at night. So warning signs of contempt include, you no longer feel admiration for your partner. It's difficult for you to remember your partner's positive aspects or attributes. You feel that your partner has severe personality deficiencies. So antidotes for contempt, very important, include focusing on your partner's positive qualities. You want to use timeouts when you recognize that the situation is becoming heated. So watch your tone and your facial expressions. Do not sneer. Okay, do not roll your eyes. Focus on the behavior and not the person. Most importantly, gain an appreciation of where your partner is coming from. So often when we are able to put our partner's behavior in context, then we have a greater appreciation of the cause or causes of their behavior. And as a result, we better see that their behavior is not about them. It's not about us, it's about them. Okay, it's not their lack of respect for us or their unwillingness to change for us. It's that they are fixated in being a certain way or they have a certain habit. And again, they still love us. Okay, it's about their behavior is about them, not about us. Okay, wonderful. Let's move on to some additional ways to manage conflict. This is really great stuff. Hang on to this information. You've got to digest it because managing conflict is absolutely key to having a successful relationship.